Hello, my name is Greg, Soul Searching Gaijin. It's me. Today we're going to do our first real session in the studio. This whole series of creating music for my live set. In the past few days, I've done a lot of configuring, a lot of building templates, working things out, and in the process, I've actually created a bunch of music. So what I want to do today, and I think will be most valuable for you, is I'll play through some of the music. I have essentially 3 ideas split up with 4 patterns each on the digitact and syntact. I have all kinds of stuff going on in AUM. I'll try to explain as much as possible, but the real valuable part of today is going to be the lesson I learned in really starting with a template and making sure you work very organized. So really quickly, well, let me see if I can get, mind you, I'm just figuring this out again. Over here, we'll start with this view. This will be okay. So what I'm going to do is just play for you really quickly some rough ideas. This is not all completely sorted out yet, but just some rough idea sketches that I have, the patterns that I have for the show's setup. So let's go. Okay, so essentially I have, this be my first, I guess you would call it, section pattern. I have some sounds over here on the Faderfox that I can bring in that I'll probably start out this with before I even start the sequence playing. These run free of the sequence, just to kind of get me in the flow. And then I'm going to jump over here to my second pattern. Just kind of builds up a little bit, same idea. Now what I think I'm going to do is over in AUM, up here, I have in this guy, I have an instance of fugue running. And if you see over here, I can switch up the patterns. I have 4 different patterns. I'm going to start with my first pattern and then come over here and then slowly, let's see if I can get, okay, I want to just get rid of that. So we're just going to do this here. I don't have that one mapped. So we're going to bring up there we go. The weird thing is when you switch patterns here, you do have to do it on beat. There's a lot to learn. So, have a nice little thing going over here. Make sure I'm on the right bank. Okay, so from here, on the Faderfox, let's go back to this view. On the Faderfox, I have an instance of this guy, Transit, installed. So what you can see is it's given the ability to do nice transitions. Now I have a bunch of these mapped. And this is going to let me flip from idea to idea. So let's see if we can do this in practice. Let's find one I like. I think it's this one. This is the one I think I like. Yep. Let's get rid of that. Come over here. We're going to flip. Not very graceful, but you get the idea. That's going to let me allow me to transition and also give me some variation. in and amongst things. So now we're going to flip to our fourth pattern. And I'm going to kind of bring some stuff out. I'm going to do a little track 1, a little control all on the Digitac just for some variations. Same thing. Now I'm going to jump to my next idea. We're just running through this really quickly. So here we go. So essentially now I have a whole nother idea set up. Mind you, I didn't transition the right way. I'm just kind of showing you what's going on. So we went through the first 4 patterns, which was a build-up of the first idea. Now this is how I'm starting out the second idea. We're going to the next pattern in that, which is going to introduce some more tracks on the Digitac, sorry. Kind of do a little bit of build-up. And along the way I have these...
How you think and how you feel creates your state of being.
I have these one-shots that I can kind of add in there. I'm not really using all that. As well as static sounds that are just going throughout the entire set that I can kind of bring in to help me do some other stuff. And then also... I need to figure out what key all these are in. I think this is in... We'll figure that out, but let's go to the next section and see what we get. Okay, so you can see I'm kind of building up through patterns, so I don't have to mute and unmute a lot of things. I have the Digitac sending program change to the Syntact. So essentially, I'm creating a progression where I don't have to mute and unmute, because you can see there's a lot to really deal with here, you know? I have a lot of little things that I can kind of put in the mix, as well as transitions. Okay, so there's a lot to manage, as well as I want to be able to play on top. So now we're just going to jump to our last. Okay, this is our last idea. I'm just running through the patterns really quickly. Really quickly. Okay, and then over here I actually have, you gotta do it in sync. 3, 4, gotta remember that. A lot to learn here. So here we go, we got another little idea going on. Can add some ambient talking in there. Let's see what pattern we're on. Now let's get ready to transition. Did that a little too early. 3. Yeah, sloppy transitions and everything, but literally I'm just trying to show what's going on. And then let's come over here to our last pattern, which is the build-up. This is where it gets the biggest. And that's not what I wanted. So let's come back over here, previous pattern, and see what's up. Because I did have this really nice, there you go, it's over here on 14. Okay, so now this is kind of my biggest buildup of this pattern. So I can jam a little bit on the piano. And then when I'm ready to drop it back down, I can kind of come back here. Now that I'm on my last pattern of the last idea, and I can kind of transition out, bring some stuff down.
Just listen, don't think.
Come over here to effects. I can kind of ease my way out of the set. Okay, so you get the idea there. So let's go back to this. So really what I'm trying to get across is templates. Without me having those patterns created, it is, and was, last time I went on stage, an absolute nightmare. I went up with just a few patterns, 3 patterns. I had 3 ideas, 1 pattern for each idea. And as you can see, there's a lot to do, even when I'm just switching patterns and everything's popping up. So I think it's very important. The way I went about this was, for instance, so this is a good example. Let's come over here. This is the max buildup of this pattern. This is everything playing. If I come over here, if you look, everything is unmuted over here. And the same over here. You can't really see with the angle, purple. And if I go to this camera, because of the angle or the sun, you can't really see the colors. But over here, you can kind of see that they're purple. So, and then if I come over to my first pattern, you'll see that a lot of things mute over here, and it just kind of really chills itself out. So the whole idea was, when I'm creating something, I give each pattern at this, or each song at this point, 4, or ideas, we'll call it, 4 patterns slots. So I look at a bank in the Digitact, since there's 16 over here. I go 1, 2, 3, 4 is my first idea, 5, 6, 7, 8 second, 9, 10, 11, 12 third, 14, 16 fourth. Okay? So when I'm writing, I'm creating an entire, let's come over here so you can actually, there you go, at least see me a little bit. Okay? So when I'm writing, that's probably better if I come over here. This is so new to me. So when I'm writing, I'm basically fleshing out a whole idea, and I make it as, I just keep adding on to it until I have all my tracks pretty much filled up, or I'm satisfied with the energy level, and I build it to the point where it's kind of at the max. Then what I'm going to do from there is I copy that pattern, and then I go to my performance bank. And in my performance bank, that's where I'm lining things up. So like I said, say for instance, we're working, right now this idea is my 3rd idea, right? So if I come over to patterns, if I show you this over here, I don't know if you can even see that. So if I come to patterns, I don't have anything on 13, 14, 15, 16, okay? These over here are this song that we're playing with. So essentially, right here, track 11 is my highest point. So what I did was I copied this. So when I'm writing, like I said, I write to the highest point, fill everything up. Then I come over to my performance bank, which we are in. And what I did was I selected pattern 9, the first one of the 4 in this group, okay? And I pasted it. I pasted it on 9, 10, 11, and 12, the same exact pattern. And then what I did is, once I verified that it all worked, I went back to pattern 9 and I start pulling things out. So as you can see, this is like my intro pattern right here. So if we go back, whoa, okay, my tempo's a little funky. So this is how it's going to start. Now mind you, this is coming from another track, and I may adjust once I get going a little bit more, but I have some elements muted. I have the bass on 8 muted, and I have a kick and snare. I have them muted, and some sound on 7, which okay, there you go, a little hi-hat, giving it some movement. So let's see what happens when we go to pattern 10. Next pattern. Okay, so as you can see, nothing changed over here on the Digitac, but on the Syntact, I switched up some of the elements to kind of build it up a little bit. Now, like I said, this Syntact is controlled by the Digitac. So when I change patterns, then the Digitac, the Syntact change patterns. So I'm duplicating this process on both boxes. So now let's go to the next pattern. Let's see what happens. Take a second. Okay, this is the max. But what I did with this pattern is I have this little flute guy over here. So essentially, what I did was change up the energy on the Syntact a little bit. Added some elements. I think this one was, the up hat is added, and yeah, that guy is in there. Maybe a little bit louder, maybe a little bit different tuning. So then what I can do is I have the bass, I have the drums, and then once I can jam a little bit, and when I want to take it up to the next notch, that's just giving me that extra little bump right there. So then I come over to the last pattern. Let's see what happens when we transition to that. And it drops back down. And that's going to, and this was all created off of one big pattern, like I said, that I filled out all the tracks and made it as big as I could. Then I put it across 4 patterns and sculpted, carved out things to kind of create a progression. So as I move through the patterns, the song builds, and once I get to that stage, then I'll go into the different boxes and I'll craft different things like tunings, volumes of certain elements, just to make each pattern maybe a little bit more unique, or things that stand out to just adjust as I'm feeling it. But I found, without working this way, this is almost, for me, next to impossible. There's just too many elements to try to arrange in the moment. And then even like, I want to play on top. So I really want to have my head free of a lot of things. So that's how I'm going about it. So templates, let's kind of get into that a little bit bigger. I talked about patterns. That's one thing. Another thing that's very important is if we go to pattern 1 over here, and how come I can't hear them? Not because they're muted. Let's go to pattern, something where they're not all muted. Why? That's bizarre. That's bizarre. Is it because I have to have this playing? Oh, you're hearing sounds just quiet as could be. That's kind of strange. Okay, well, so we're not going to demonstrate that. But essentially, the point I'm trying to get is I have the same sounds basically on the same tracks. I'm working, when I'm coming over, let's go over here so you can see a little bit more. When tracks 1 through 4, maybe this view will work a little bit better, yes. 1 through 4, I have a kick, normally some type of clicky snare or rim, a second type one, maybe a clap, and usually some type of hi-hat or percussion over here. For some reason, I've been using 6 for an extra kick, probably because also 5 I'm using for another percussive element. 7 tends to be like a noise or sound effects layer. 8 is always my bass. And then down here, 9, 10, and 11 are kick, snare, and hat. High energy kick, snare, and hat, like full volume. When everything's at its biggest, that's when I can bring them in. But for the most part, the tracks can almost ride with the first 8 tracks going. I do the same thing over here on the Syntact. Kicks, snares, hats, claps, percussion, some bass sounds. This is a noise sound. This is some type of keyboard sound. And then over here, just like a secondary or auxiliary layering, kick, snare, hat, and percussion. So that's pretty much a template that I run with. And I gave myself the limitation of, in my sound bank, I've already imported a lot of my custom samples that I like. So as opposed to searching for the perfect crazy sound, I'm kind of working within a limitation of what is imported in this project, in this bank. Which, I mean, if I go to it, let's see. If we go to, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. Is this it? No, no. Project, samples. See, there's a lot of stuff I'm not, maybe I have to come here. That was my cat. There you go. Project drive. Yes. So we go incoming. There's some of these are some of the things that I have from previous things that I've recorded and imported in here. Now, a lot of these I'm not even using in here yet. Let's go. There you can, okay, so this is one that I am using. I created, in my DAW, I created a track of a whole bunch of sounds. So this is my next one. And this is one stereo file, and I imported the entire file in, and what I do is I will load that on one track and on the Digitact, and I will put it in a mode that's like a grid mode. So essentially I have access to all of those sounds on one particular track, which makes it really nice. So that way I don't have to go through and keep scrolling for different drum sounds. I have like 3 or 4 of these guys made up. One's more of a glitch, one's more little ticks and percussions, one's more kicks and snares. So I load them up accordingly, and that's part of my template. So before I even got into creating music, I set up all my tracks. So on track 1, for instance, I would really like to be able to, let's see if we go to a blank pattern. Okay, perfect. So now, how do I have to set that up? Grid mode, machine. No. Function. There you go, grid. Maybe I want to do one shot. Okay, now let me go back to this and go. That's not it. Maybe I do work. Nope. Sure it's not good? There you go. So, how did I have this hooked up? I think I just... There's a way to do this. This is why I don't want to go spend too much time. There we go. See, so all of those sounds are on one track for me. I have to, what's the difference? Machine? No. Coming out of there. Machine, grid, track 1. Let's go to grid. Track 1. Oh, yeah. See, so this is where it really helps to have... See, this is what I'm talking about, templates. This can totally take you out of the creative process. As you can see, it's totally got me like, what is going on? So the whole idea is, before you get started, set yourself up really well. Set your banks up over here, so the sounds that you want or that you're going to use most of the time are in here. I found it really helps, just to actually not get caught up in the technical parts of trying to find a sound and set things up the way you want. If you take some time before you start to write to really figure out your setup and set it up so it's very easy to create with. I think that's like a huge takeaway from this. It was for me. And then by having a template, once you get one, and I would start with the blank bank, put it in bank 1, and then copy the pattern and paste it across the entire bank, every pattern. So every pattern has the same template. And then what you can do is you can go through and go back to pattern 1, create your first idea. Like I said, blow it out, make it as full as you can, fill up all your tracks, and then I'd give yourself 4 patterns. It's kind of like there's an intro, a build up, a max, and a drop down transition towards the end into the next track. So once you get your first pattern using your template in an empty bank on pattern 1, blow it out, copy and paste it to the next 4 patterns, and then go in and start programming some mutes. So on the Digitact, there's 2 ways to do this. You can see these green mutes, which transfer from track to track. So if I mute these guys and I go to a next pattern, they're going to stay muted, which is kind of a pain. But if you go to the purple mutes, which I don't know how well you can see them. Once again, maybe we have to come over here. Yeah, if you go to the purple mutes as opposed to the green mutes, see how there's a little bit difference. These are track specific, pattern specific, I should say. So if I go to another pattern, pattern 2, you can see a few things change here. Pattern 3, some things change here. Pattern 4, everything's on. That makes it really useful. So for me, I'm using the purple patterns or the purple mutes. And then when I am performing, or trying to do the performance, I tend to leave both of these set up showing me my mutes so I can jump in, do what I have to do, and then good to go. I can just switch to the next pattern, or if I want to select a track, I can hit track and bump, bump, bump. But this always pops up so I know what's playing. All right, so then lastly, I would say kind of important to, I don't know how well this is going to show because of the light glare, but name your tracks. up here, so you know what's going on. I have to do a little bit more, a little better at this. So these are all just called ambient 1. This one, live show, I don't know why. It's that, see? Because this is what I've been doing the past couple days, is going in and correcting all my sloppy working, so things make sense. Track 5, I think I did it right. Here we go. 5. I have, okay, I like the number 3, 6, and 9. So I have live 3, pattern 1, live 3, pattern 2, live 3, pattern 3, live 3, pattern 4. I come down to here, live 6, because like I said, 3, 6, and 9 will be my last thing. Live 6, pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 1, pattern 4. See, so I've done some jumping around because I have, let's get out of there. There you go, let's get out of there. Let's come into, no, let's go into here. I want to go into pattern, and I want to rename this guy. I'm going to name this pattern 3. Yes, save it, fine. Okay, so yeah, name your patterns, get comfortable with your workflow, your template, and your setup. So that's the setup over here on the Digitact and Digitone, or Digitact and Syntact. Oh my God, so many electron boxes, it's crazy. So, and then the next big thing that I had to do this week was setting up the template for my Faderfox. So what's really nice in here is the Faderfox controls almost everything in AUM. You can see I'm moving some volumes over here. And this is my, let's play. Okay, really quiet. There we go. So that's nice because it's just allowing me to have access to 4 different parts that I can kind of bring in and out. We'll turn them off, and while the track is still playing, you can see over here I have an instance of just some crazy sound effects. Same thing over here. So I can manipulate this guy live. I'm really not doing that. And then over here, Loopy Pro. Same thing, I have 3 little sound effects that I have going on that are just running. And these are kind of my fallback sounds, right? So then over here in the Faderfox, what do I have going on over here? I can pull up this guy, I can pull up my transition effects, just see what I'm doing. I can pull up this so I can kind of change things if I want, which is nice. And then in my second bank on the Faderfox, I have, what do I have going on? No, we don't want to go with that one. This is what I want to bring up. Here we go. So this is Fugue. And all this is doing, doesn't have sounds in it, it's a MIDI sequencer, and that is giving me, when I come over here, it's giving me 4 different playheads, which are playing these sounds respectively. As you can see, There we go, we're missing one. So if I come back to fugue, come into a different bank, I have different patterns loaded. Let's turn down these guys. You don't need to hear that right now. And these are allowing me to jump through patterns. Just give me a whole different. And I'm going to turn that down because I don't necessarily love one of those guys over there. Okay, so there you go. That makes things really nice for me because now I have access. I don't have to sequence that stuff in the Digitact or Digitone, and I can literally just Digitact and Syntact. Come on, dude. I can rely on some things that are constantly, as long as my playhead is running, those sequences are running. I just have to remember when I switch from pattern to pattern to do it on beat, because if I change a pattern in the middle, it doesn't stay in sync. That's a little weird. Probably something I have to configure in Fugue. But the big part is the more that you make a template, the easier it's going to be for you to write. As I'm going along in this, I just find I'm constantly reconfiguring things as things are popping up, and it's taking me out of the flow of writing. But I've got to the point over the past week and a half that I think everything's pretty much locked in and saved. I'm running this whole set off of one, here, I keep hitting the wrong thing, one huge AUM file, giving me, over here on the back end, I have, what do I got? I got 5 sounds, which I can actually, if I come over to my keyboard, you should be able to see I got the piano going on the left over there. If I change my MIDI channels, now I got the little flute playing, little violin. As you can see, I'm just scrolling across. I'm just scrolling across over here. So those are sounds that don't have anything mapped to them sequence-wise. They're just allowing me to play them. And then if I come over here a little bit more, this was what we're looking at. There's, over here is Fugue, which is giving me my sequence. So next to that I have, okay, this guy Loopy Pro, like you said, this one and this one over here, they're all doing static sounds. And then this next group of 4 is connected to Fugue. So that's giving me something sequenced with basically the same sounds that I have further on in my project file. Then I have my 2 inputs for my sound card, and then I have my aux sends all hooked up. And then my master here on the left. So essentially, on a high level, that's it. There's a lot of MIDI configuration involved. I also did things like on my Digitact, I have it set up so if I come over to here, and I switch through different patterns, I don't know if you guys can see that moving or not. A little bit. So basically I have sounds mapped to, let me turn this. Okay, let me make sense of this. Let me make sense of this. Probably because of my MIDI channel. Ah, I know why. Using this keyboard here on the Digitact, I can actually go through and sequence in here. Okay, which is very nice. So that's given me an awesome amount of flexibility. I keep going wrong channel. An awesome amount of flexibility. And Then, like I said, I do have the one-shots over here.
Well, I would call it a state of hypnosis.
Which is just something else to help me transition. And then the few static sounds that I have in this guy over here, which also is giving me a little bit of just a bed of something to fall back on. And then lastly, I can bring in the Micro Freak, which I'm playing on, and that's controlling most of the sounds in AUM, but at the same time I can just bring the volume up and kind of play a little bit around. So that's how I'm working, and the set's coming together. I have some solid ideas. I think I really wanted to do a video showing you how I'm creating this, and that'll come. I did one yesterday, but I had one button pressed the wrong way on. I did not have my camera's microphones muted, so as I'm using this Rode wireless mic here, it picked up double vocal input and there was a delay. After a 52-minute really nice video of me creating that third section, I should have done a test beforehand, and I should have just ran a quick 30 seconds to see if everything sounded right. I thought everything was going to be kosher, and it turned out that because of the way the mics were hooked up, that was unusable. So that will come. I will do writing sessions in the future, but I think what was really valuable for me this week was learning templates. And this one's a little complicated. I've never had to do anything this complex before. But without spending the time and learning how to get the MIDI implementation down, learning how to get everything connected and talking to one another, I now feel so much more confident if anything goes wrong that I'm going to know what happens and how to quickly fix it because of all the work and research I've had to do. And I've really set it up so I'm going to feel confident on stage. I know I can jump through things, and I have things to fall back on. So being prepared, and a big part of being prepared is working smart, working organized from the beginning. It's always fun just to get down and make the track, but have an idea of how you're going to lay things out. You'll save yourself a lot of time. I would have saved myself 2 to 3 days if I would have started working this way from the very gate. The past couple days have been reorganizing and really just taking advantage of this process. So I think I took up enough of your time. If you made it this far, thank you. Found some value, give me a comment, like, subscribe. Tell me what you'd like to see in these videos. I'm really open. Now that I figured out the streaming thing, it's pretty easy. I'm just not great with flipping my cameras. There's a lot to pay attention to over here. And like I said, I'm not trying to be perfect. I just want to give you a honest, sincere insight into what I'm learning and how you can apply that for your own process. All right, y'all, I'll talk to you next time. You have a good day.